Okay, folks, and welcome. This is David Reed, and welcome to my program. Hey, check this out. Molly Qerim abruptly quit, and from her job on First Take. Stephen A. Smith is about to talk about it, explain what happened, what he know what happened. But right now, as of now, Molly Qerim has abruptly quit, without no notice or anything like that. She just quit. Apparently, she was upset with the negotiation process, and I think people were upset at Stephen A. because they wanted him to negotiate a contract, which is not his place to do it. I mean, she's a grown person, a grown woman with an agent. Everyone has an agent in that business, so um, it's kind of tough for Stephen A. to deal with all the critics and everyone, being mad with him. I saw um, Marcellus Wiley had something to talk about it, and several other pontiff. But come on, man, give Stephen A. break, But anyway, let's just look at this. Look at his explanation, and we can react to it.
Know that this is me and we live in different times. And unfortunately, on far too many occasions, pundits, commentators, broadcasters, hosts, etc., find themselves just as relevant in the news cycle as the athletes and the sports that we cover. And that's what's going on today as it involves Miss Molly Qerim, longtime host for ESPN's First Take, my day job, where she has been the last 10 years. Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement. Um, Molly is a friend. Molly is a coworker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times, some of these things happen, and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. But it's not as if I know all the details. It was a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the event, but in the end, rather, she made a decision to walk away from the show effective immediately. As you see from her Instagram post, her Instagram story last night, after much reflection, I've decided it's time to close this incredible chapter and step away from First Take. Hosting this show has been one of the greatest honors of my career. Every morning, I had the privilege of sharing the desk with some of the most brilliant, passionate, and entertaining voices in sports, and with all of you, the best fans in the world. To be blunt, it came as a shock. I was not aware that this is something that she was contemplating doing. Um, but in the end, she made her decision. And we have to move on as a show. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it, because I appreciate her and what she has meant to me, what she has meant to the show, what she has meant to the network, what she's meant to the business. And I'm going to miss her. It's just that simple. Um, but we all make decisions that we deem to be in our best interest for whatever reason. And that story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course I do. Am I going to share it with you? No, because again, that's her story to tell.
That's right.
Um, but I do think it's important that I started off the show by just acknowledging my love and appreciation for her and what she's meant to me and what she's meant to the show. Because over the years, over the last decade or so, the things that we've accomplished, she was right. She was right there. And we can talk about me being the star of my daily television show. We could talk about the contributors that have been stars as well. We can even talk about me doing this show right now. You know, it's a hell of a lot easier to have a second job when the first job is made so easy because you're working with somebody that makes it easy for you. And that's what she did for me personally. And so, because of that, I just wanted to wish her the best, let her know the love is always here from myself, from my personal assistant and my right hand, Sumatra, from to my security, Juvie, and my sister Carmen, and so many people that have loved her and loved on her over the years. We've got nothing but love for her. Having said that, I want to move on to a broader subject in regards to this. And this part is not about Molly.
All right, folks, this is where a lot of y'all didn't listen to Stephen A. All right. He's diving a little bit further into the business, okay? And what he's doing here is explaining that this is a grown folks industry, right? This is not something, that you can take lightly. All right. Molly, at the end of the day, Molly is a grown woman, a big woman in a big industry. I mean, she's big time. She's been working with the NFL network. She's been working with ESPN now, and she's going to find something else to her liking. At the end of the day, it's not Stephen A's fault that he didn't negotiate it for her. We cannot put a blame on Stephen A for this. He has said some stuff in the past that I don't agree with, but what is he supposed to do? Come on, folks. Really, lighten up. Give the guy a break. So anyway, just listen to what he has to say about the industry.
This part is about this industry because I know there's a lot of people that look at sports and, you think you can do this every day. News for you: you can't wake up and be Mad Dog Russo. You can't wake up and be Adam Shine. You can't wake up and be Stephen A. It takes work. It's not just about what you know. It's about what you know about your audience and how to deliver a product to an audience that they're receptive to and they want to embrace and they want to magnetize themselves to moving forward. We're looking at an age with podcasting, folks with their own YouTube channel, everybody aspiring to be their boss, their own boss, and make their own decisions. But in the end, we all have people to answer to. And I know this subject is piggybacking off of what has transpired with Molly's abrupt resignation, per se. But it is important to point out that guess what? It doesn't have to be about her. But when you have negotiations and you're talking with people and you're going back and forth and you're hearing things that you may not want to hear or feeling things you may not want to feel, even though you're valued, even though people acknowledge those kind of things, we live in a world where we have to grow up. And again, I'm not talking about Molly here, but I'm watching and I've been watching over the last several years, people in this business fall by the wayside because we forget that all of us ultimately answer to people. We don't get to define our own value. We don't get to define our own worth. We don't get to sit there and summarily say, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And guess what? I don't give a damn what anybody say unless you have the leverage to do it. Because business is all about leverage. And I'm going to take this opportunity talking to this audience, giving you some insight into who I am and how did I think and how I think to make sure you understand where I come from. When you heard me at a time when we were discussing my contract negotiations all over the media and all throughout the sports world, what I talked about was what my worth was based on what the numbers showed. I talked about these are the ratings. This is the revenue. And I talked about, like I wrote in my book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, which was a New York Times bestseller, by the way. I said in the book, I wake up with two things every morning. Two thoughts of mine, prevalent most in my mind. How do I make my bosses more money? How do I get some of it? I'm going to repeat.
All right, folks, this is where a lot of people was upset with Stephen A because he's telling the truth. Look, every day we go to work, if you're not working for yourself, you're working for somebody else. Your job is to make money for your boss. And at the same time, try to make some money for yourself. It's an adult game. It's not a kid game. It's not some Toys R Us store. You go out there every day to make money for your boss and yourself. This is life. And like I said, Molly Qerim will be fine. Okay? She's a grown adult. She's smart, beautiful, and she'll be fine. Negotiation doesn't always work. You know what I mean? Um, it is what it is. Sometimes you think you're hot, whatever. You are someone that is needed, and you think you're needed. You think you're valued. You think you're the shit, so to speak. And the corporation or the company might not. They might want to move in a different direction. But rest assured, she'll be fine. It's just part of the game. And Stephen A is not responsible for this. I'm not defending Stephen A, but I'm just saying I've been there, done that. People get fired, people get hired for whatever reason. All right. So I don't think we should be so hard on Stephen A. All right. Okay.
Beat that. How do I get my bosses more money? How do I get something? Why do I say that? Because every one of us answer to somebody. For those of you out there with a YouTube channel, guess what? YouTube can flag your stuff and limit what you could disseminate to the masses.
True.
Over the airways of SiriusXM Radio, I have a beautiful deal with this company. I am incredibly happy. It doesn't escape me that Scott Greenstein is my boss. I work at ESPN. I'm incredibly happy with how I have been treated. Dave Roberts is my boss. Burt Magnus is my boss. Mike McQuaid is my boss. Jimmy Pitaro is my boss. Bob Iger is my boss.
Everybody has someone to answer to.
This notion that everybody gets to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it, feeling whatever way they want to feel. When you got your hand out for other people's money, it doesn't work that way. And again, I'm not talking about Molly with all of this. Molly's a separate category. But the reason why I piggybacked off the topic of her to get into a more generalized discussion is because I'm seeing people in this business and beyond falling by the wayside and departing from places they don't need to depart from because their excellence at what they do is prevalent and relevant and flagrant.
Amen.
And they should be here. But it can all evaporate in a snap if you lose perspective. And you forget that everybody, and I mean everybody, answers to somebody.
Everybody answers to someone.
That has to be fed.
It's just the way it is.
And along the way, sometimes it calls for you to make sacrifices you may not otherwise want to make. And what changed my life for the better, that made me a better professional, that made me a better man, was when I woke up and realized my primary objective in the world of business, in the capitalistic society that we live in, is to make somebody money and to be able to get some of it.
True.
Because nobody gets to take it all for themselves.
True.
Even the bosses have to surrender resources and assets to people that are under them to make sure everything flows efficiently and fluidly.
True. Business 101, baby.
That's the world we're living in. And you know,
it's a
when
give
you
and
make
take
moves,
world.
when I sat up there and I talked about what
win,
my work was,
and you got win-lose. You gotta work for a win-win in business.
You don't say stuff like that.
It's just the way it is. You gotta give and take. It's a win-win world. You can't
at
win.
That time. That doesn't mean that's going to be the
and
case.
Someone else is
doesn't
losing.
mean it's going to be the case 10 years from now or 15 years from now. Or it was the case 20 years ago or 15 years ago when I was fired.
That's right. I remember when he was fired.
But in that moment, that was my time. At some point in time, all of us, and this part includes Molly, frustrations come with everything in the world of business. There will never be 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There will never be a time when all of those hours, days, weeks, months, and years are clean, devoid of stress and strain that wears you down. But you have to make a decision as to whether or not it is going to break you. Don't ever be broken. Don't ever let the system break you because the system is indiscriminate. It's always coming for you. And it's there to break you, to create opportunities for others who may be less deserving than you, just because they had the intestinal fortitude and the wherewithal to deal with what you couldn't deal with. That applies to Molly, that applies to Stephen A, that applies to every single one of you out there. Most of what I said has nothing to do with Molly's situation. I'm just reflecting on it retrospectively because of so many people that I see in the world of business derailing their own selves because they can't deal with a stress and strain that's inevitable for us all in the world of business.
All right, folks. I think I've seen enough. Listen, everything that Stephen A has said in this video is the truth. You got to know how to navigate the world of business. All right. Negotiation can be tough. It's not. It's never pretty. And most people will negotiate against ABC or CBS. They have the agents. The agent or agents to do that, right? So I don't know if Molly had an agent. I don't know her business. We don't know her business, all right? And Stephen A didn't know her business. He had an idea of what how it went down, but did he knew 100%? No. Um, Stephen A is not a representation. He's just an employee just like her. Yes, they work together. They're colleagues, but in that industry, um, every talent has an agent. I don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. We shouldn't speculate. But for people to come out against Stephen A because they like Molly, that's just Bush League. At the end of the day, she has to represent herself, and she has to deal with the industry and just the overall ins and out of the industry. It's a brutal industry, right? So, like I said, like he said, it will wash you out. It will wore you out. You gotta know to be thick skinned. You gotta know to hang in there. Not everyone can deal with it. So anyway, man, I think Stephen A explained himself, and I think he has nothing to do with her deciding to leave. Maybe his contract had something to do with it, but him personally didn't, right? So, like I say, the industry's tough. You got to know to navigate. You got to know to deal with the big leagues, the big wigs, whatever. It's just the way it is. All right. But like I said, man, she will be fine. She's a professional. She's beautiful. She's still young enough, and she got plenty of talent. And I know she can go back to the NFL Network. She can go to Fox Sport. She can do whatever she wants to do, right? So, all right, everybody. Like I said, just I want to lose any sleep over this because she's gonna be fine. All right, take care.